Thank you all for being here. I'll call the order a special meeting of the town board. It's a one-purpose agenda, so one-item agenda. We're going to dispense with our normal opening with the pledge and with public comment. You notice that there is no Tesla parked outside, and Elon Musk couldn't be here, so it's not about Tesla coming to Massena. That's not what the announcement's about. The town is very fortunate in that we have been offered a pretty unique gift by a native son who's lived here and been very successful, and also through some generosity from CCOM Federal Credit Union as well. Mr. Randy Peets, who is here, a local attorney, and again, as I said, a homegrown guy who's gone on to be a professional in his business, has made arrangements to purchase the CCOM building that will become vacant when CCOM is done downtown, and will give it to the town of Massena to establish what will be called the Celine G. Philibert Memorial Cultural Center and Museum. We will relocate the town museum to the cultural center. The idea is that we'll have a new, more energy efficient facility for the museum. They'll be able to spread things out in there quite well. But we'll also keep, I think Randy and Scott both had a vision that we have a cultural center, a place where we can have perhaps visiting exhibits, where we can have a location for maybe something like a political forum, or maybe a social event of some sort for the public. So it'll be really a dual purpose facility. It'll be the cultural center. How it really came about is that Randy had a longtime partner named Celine Philibert. Celine was a native of France, came over here for education, worked at SUNY Potsdam for over 20 years. She and Randy lives here for 20 years as well, before she unfortunately passed away at a young age from cancer and lost the battle with cancer. And so Randy wanted to do this donation as an everlasting tribute to her and to her memory. We just think it's a great opportunity for us to perhaps move the museum forward a step and refine its collection and its mission, and focus a little bit more on telling the story of Massena. Although we do that already, we hope to maybe establish a bit more of a timeline in the new facility. It's a great location. It'll obviously increase foot traffic into the museum. Someone's calling me. It'll be, again, a facility that can serve multiple purposes for different cultural functions. Okay, it certainly wouldn't be unusual, I think, to have a three-piece string maybe group come in, play some music there some night, have a little recital, different things like that. It's sort of what I see. So both Randy and Scott Wilson from CCOM are history buffs. And Randy tells that he and Celine used to travel really all over the world and visited all kinds of museums, and that was sort of what the exposure they got to different places and different cultures through these museums. He thought it would be a nice thing to have in Massena, again, to sort of expand the mission of the current museum and go beyond that and create a little bit more of a cultural center. So that is the announcement. Again, I want to focus on the generosity. We didn't go to them and say this. Randy came to me initially and Scott and said, "This is the plan we have." Randy worked with CCOM. CCOM was able to give him sell it for a price that made sense to him, and now he's in turn giving that over to the town for this great public facility. So, Scott, you want to say something on behalf of CCOM?
Yeah, certainly, Joe. I think that when Randy came to me and talked about the building being for sale and his intended vision for it and coming to the town and obviously offering as a gift, certainly intrigued us. I initially went to my board of directors and laid out the idea to them, and it didn't take them very long to immediately meet the offering price that Randy was willing to give in order to make this happen for the community. Obviously that there are folks who are concerned about CCOM leaving, what does that mean for downtown, and we feel this is a concrete way to give back to the community, make sure that there's an asset to the town, that can be utilized by the folks here in the greater downtown area. So my board of directors, we're very pleased to be able to provide this at a substantial reduced rate in order to meet the expectation that we would like, and we're very happy to partner with him in the town of Massena.
Good, great. You know, we had some initial concerns that this property's gonna come off the tax rolls. The renovation and addition that CCOM has done to their Stern Street location will, by that new investment there will buy, and the assessment that comes with it, with that investment, will exceed the tax value of this property. And then what we will do is, once the museum is moved, we'll obviously look to sell the East Dover Street location of the museum, where the museum currently is housed, so.
The other thing, Joe, is the present museum and its location has always been a drawback, but we have an old building with aging infrastructure. So the savings moving from that building to the new building will more than offset them. More.
Sam did a little bit of work on some of what the utility costs are, because he's been looking at doing some energy efficiency work at it's now the old museum, if you will. And you may want to, give us some idea of that.
At the present museum, we're right around $8,000, $9,000 a year for utilities. I did some checking on the present CCOM building, and the heating cost is $1,900 for the year. That's with, you know, a strong customer base in and out of the building, which I hope the same goes for the museum, but that'll probably be less than what the actual position is right now with it. Then electric costs will be, you know, conducive to a museum-type atmosphere rather than a banking atmosphere. So we could possibly save between $4,000 and $6,000 a year just in our utility costs for that function.
And the location here is great. I mean, the location we have on East Dover Street isn't really a typical walking path. This one, people are walking downtown. People from the hotel want to, you know, get out and see, learn a little bit about the town. They can walk across the street and do that. That obviously is a huge selling point too. And so this change, I think, will be very, very positive from a whole different number of perspectives.
Even with the present building, there's still some work that needed to be done. The ramp needed work. The front sidewalk, there's a step there that always concerned me. Between the old building, new building, there's a little bit of a step, and then the stairway, there's a kind of an off step that always concerned me about somebody getting hurt in that building. So this will help alleviate some of those concerns.
It's very accessible, handicap accessible. It's great. Anything else from the board? Anyone else on the board?
Well, just that we had the opportunity to, before the public meeting, to talk with the library board, so they weren't blindsided by this. Museum board. So they weren't blindsided by this, and they're excited about it.
Joe, you're from the museum.
Well,
Joe McCauley is president of the
Joe
museum.
McCauley, I'm president of the museum board. In our earlier meeting, I thanked Scott and Randy for the generous gift to us. We have been discussing some upgrades to the building, and this will be a huge upgrade. Just thinking about mechanical things, like with being a central air, that alone should really help preserve and many of our artifacts. I mean, it's gonna make a huge difference. Right now, we only have a couple, two or three window air conditioners. So I think just the environmental change in the environment's gonna be tremendous. We're very, very, very receptive to the whole idea of making it more than just the museum. And I just think I can see a lot of, you know, big pluses for this. Just the exposure downtown instead of, you know, especially across from the hotel and across from the town hall and everything. And it will put something in the building that I think everybody will enjoy. And we're very grateful for this. And now we just have to figure out what to do, how to do it, and get it done. But as my brother said earlier, we don't have a 48-hour time frame. We've got time to, you know, really do it right, so that we don't have to worry about making any mistakes and so on in what we decide to do. So again, on behalf of the whole board and the historian, the archivist, all our volunteers, we are very thankful and appreciative for what has been done for us.
we talked a little bit too in an earlier meeting with the museum board that, you know, maybe we can try to focus to actually tell the Massena story when you visit the museum. In the different eras, you know, there's several different eras in my mind in Massena's history. You talk about the settlement, obviously, in the late 1700s, early 1800s. Then this whole Springs, Massena Springs, being the mecca that it was for the curing sulfur waters, curing quote unquote, and cure your sinusitis, I think, a lot. But anyway, and then of course Alcoa and sort of the industrial, what I call Massena's industrial revolution, and then the second era of that in the 50s with the Seaway and with the two new other plants, and then up through present day. So I think there's an opportunity here to establish a Massena, the story of Massena, I guess, in the museum, again, for visitors and for people. We talked earlier too about how the curriculum has changed in the elementary schools. They don't have as much time for local history as they used to have. Now, you know, kids will be able to visit the museum, and we have one school that visits now, and hopefully it'll be a little more accessible to everybody. And again, you'll get that Massena story when you come in the door and see what's going on. We've also talked a little earlier about the possibility of working with some of the local universities, maybe some interns there or whatever, students to come in to help us with some of these preparations, some of the transition. There are different classes and programs of study at those universities that could benefit us potentially. So we're gonna reach out to them certainly and see if we can get some cooperation there, and I'm relatively sure we can. Nothing else from the board? I guess we'd open it for public questions and comments if we haven't touched anything that we haven't already touched on something you were thinking about.
Joe's been the best kept secret I've heard.
Best kept secret you haven't heard.
Not for lack of trying, everybody, I've been bugged for several days. Phone calls.
I asked him last night at supper, he said, can't tell you.
Heck, I didn't ask him today what he was doing tonight, he wouldn't tell me.
He didn't know. He just knew he had to come here.
I thought you were asking me for a reason.
Well, he's my attorney.
John, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have two short questions. Isn't the current museum bigger than the location you want to move to? Where are all the artifacts going to
I
go?
don't think it is, John. There's 4,200 square feet at the CCOM location.
Okay,
I don't know how many square feet there are in the museum itself. We haven't measured it, but we don't think, I think the museum board, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, we don't think that the available space in CCOM will be any smaller than what we have in the current museum.
okay, so we looked into both
We thought
square
about
footage,
that. We thought about that. We want to make sure.
And we will have to do some
an
renovations.
addition probably.
Probably not an addition, but interior renovations.
Well, one of the things we talked about, for example, when I first met with Scott and Randy, we talked about the drive-through lanes, right? What can you do with those? Well, why not put up walls and put the hearse and the fire engine and whatever, I don't know if it's an engine, the fire truck and firefighting equipment, and close that in and put those in there, would be a perfect location for that. So the main thing is we want to keep the architectural integrity of the building, so that whatever renovations we do, that we keep it in keeping with the. And there's also a basement there too for storage and for archives, and we hope there's going to be some more space for people to actually go and do some research in archives, because there's a number of offices there already. When we make some renovations, we'll try to interconnect some of those offices for it to be sort of a continuum of display space in my mind. Again, we're gonna do this collectively, and Randy and Scott have offered to be involved, and the museum board obviously will be involved. We're gonna make some collective decisions on the best way to use the space, the best way to lay it out.
Well, another thing too that we didn't talk about before, but the museum staff, for many, many years, we wanted to improve the office space and/or, you know, we never were able to pull off, you know, enclosed offices or something like that. This will give us a big opportunity to help the staff, people that work there, and the volunteers that come, to have enclosed spaces and a place to work where you get some quiet spaces.
And if you look at, say, if you go in and see down there where the teller line is, potentially there could be a wall there, there could be several, there could be one big space or several office spaces, whatever. I mean, the teller line will all come out, obviously. The big information desk is there will come out. So We hope the renovations won't be too extensive, but again, we're not gonna do them halfway either. We're gonna do them, if they're architecturally appropriate to the building and we keep the building's integrity.
Is there a price you estimate to renovate?
We haven't even gotten that far yet, John. This has
Okay.
all kind of come together in the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
But I've reached out to one contractor who has some pretty good knowledge of the building. He hasn't given me any kind of numbers, but he said he's willing to give us some estimates on some of that work.
Yeah, and is also gonna be still named the Massena Historical Society,
It will actually be called, the,
so it won't no longer be that
The
name?
Celine Philibert Memorial Cultural Center and Museum. There certainly will be a designation for the town museum in there, so everyone will be clear that the town museum is indeed housed there. But the name of the facility, and I've got a press release that actually we can hand it out now if you want. I don't know how many copies I have. If you want to pass those out, Jeff, appreciate it. But it will be, again, named after Celine Philibert. Ted, here's some more. If you want to put up, send to her.
Down?
Yeah, obviously that was Randy's request and his purpose in doing this, so we want to make sure we honor the person that Randy was very, very motivated in honoring, so.
Joe, when is, or maybe Scott can answer, when is CCOM's, when are they all done with that building? Or when is CCOM moving out of there?
What are they, our target date was June first, and certainly I think that I've spoken to Randy, and certainly that we'd like to obviously have the sale completed, everything done by the end of June. But we're gonna move our operation to June 1.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, if not, I would move to adjourn, and we'd entertain a motion to adjourn. It'll be the shortest town board meeting on record.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second, all right? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, we actually
Yeah,
do,
hold
I'm
on.
sorry, we gotta vote, we actually need to vote to accept the thing, that might be important. So, we're not gonna adjourn yet. I entertain a motion that we accept the gift of this facility, and it will be named the Celine G. Philibert Memorial Cultural Center and Museum. And it will, there were 4 stipulations that Randy's asked for as far as the naming and the use of the building. And the board has those, and I don't know if I gave you a copy or not, Georgette. So we would accept it with these 4 stipulations.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second to accept the building, okay? Any further discussions? Got a lot. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstentions, motion carries. Now, I entertain-
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Oh, second.
I'll say aye. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks so much.